Welcome, everyone, to a very exciting special guest episode. We have Nick, an IELTS student who just received the scores he needs on IELTS. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Aubrey. And yeah, I'm
Let us know,
grateful.
just give us an introduction first, right? Where are you from? Why were you taking the IELTS exam?
Okay, I'm very grateful that Aubrey invited me to this podcast. And I'm Nick. I'm 29 years old, and I'm living in Taiwan and in Taichung City. And I'm studying for IELTS because I want to be a nurse in America. And recently, I got my offer in the California. Yes, so
Amazing. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And I was preparing for IELTS because they need like speaking for seven,
Mhm.
and your overall need to be 6.5. So I'm preparing for IELTS, and I listen to your podcast very often.
Awesome. I love it. And I'm so excited to hear that you're going to be a nurse. We need more first responders, right? We're great. I'm grateful in advance that you are going to be a nurse. I've met some
You.
amazing nurses here in the US and California. That's amazing. Fantastic weather, beaches. That's going to be
Yes,
really awesome.
yes,
So, yeah,
I know.
let's get into this. So, you were listening to the IELTS Energy podcast, which I love. And now here you are on the podcast as a student success story. So, first, tell us what scores did you get on the IELTS exam? This is exciting.
Well, this is my first attempt to the IELTS exam, and I got overall of 6.5. Overall, I think it's 7 point.
Yes, overall 7.
And
That's what you had said.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. And I got my speaking for up to 7.5, and I was so
Amazing.
shocked. Like, yeah, I was so shocked because I think I will speak like about 6 or 6.5 because I did not do well on the part 2 of
Mm,
the exam, and I got about the reading I got 6.5,
hmm
and listening is also 7.5 too.
Amazing. So
And
exciting.
the lowest score is my writing is 5.5. Yeah. So
Yes, which that's common, right? It's
yeah,
very difficult to get
yeah,
higher scores on the writing exam. So tricky. Luckily, you were looking for an overall score, which you were able to get because you boosted your listening and
yes.
speaking scores to such high, impressive scores. So let's dive in and talk about those first. I know you signed up for Three Keys IELTS. Let's talk about the speaking score first with some very specific things for our listeners, for everyone out there preparing for the IELTS exam and wanting to improve your IELTS speaking scores. Nick, what can you share? What did you learn in Three Keys IELTS that helped you improve that speaking score so much?
In the Three Kids Out, I really look into the course, and I would find it really helpful if I just speak with you guys. Like, you are talking about the speaking progress, and I was thinking, and I'll also speak to you, like in the video, but not in person, right? So I imagine that you are speaking and talking to me. So I'll pause the video and say some words and then start the video too. So
I
it will
love that.
just organize the conversation I'm going to speak, and it's for me it's very useful because I seldom have the opportunity to speak with foreigners or the native speakers. So I use this practice to improve my English, and it make me more confident in this
Okay.
genre. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I want to dive into that a little bit because I don't know if that's something that a lot of students have thought about doing. And that is such a good strategy for practicing, especially if, like you don't have a lot of speaking partners, you don't have a lot of people either learning
Mhm.
English or practicing for an exam to practice with. So, this is such a good tip to use. You were able to use this speaking module in Three Keys IELTS and to
Yes.
use the podcast and to use when we ask a speaking question to just pause it and answer as if we were an examiner asking you.
Yeah.
I think that's genius. Rather than just being alone in a room, you can sort of role play and imagine that we're an examiner asking you a question. Everyone out there listening can do this with the podcast or with our course. That is fantastic advice. And I can really see how that would improve your fluency. And then you could
Mhm.
also compare how you feel you did to the answer you then hear
Yes.
if we are giving a sample answer, right?
Yes, yes. I will just keep continue. After pausing, I will just continue listening to the answers and compare to my answers. And once I get used to this kind of progress, I will just fast forward my thinking process. I will while you are talking, I will be able to just talk back in a few seconds, and then I don't have to pause. I just have to speak it out and speak fast, and then you just can continue because I'm kind of fast like a curious person or kind
Mhm.
of I want to get things done very fast. So if I pause too long, I will feel just I kind
Mm.
of struggled and can continue, and it will affect my mood. So I
Right.
like to
It
do
affects your
things.
confidence, right? It, like,
Yes,
robs you of all confidence if you feel
yes,
yourself pausing, hesitating, thinking of vocabulary.
yeah.
So do you feel like I feel like that activity would be a great boost for your confidence so that you go in on test day feeling quite confident. Would you say that's the case?
Uh, Actually, I this is my first time in the IELTS speaking test, so
Mhm.
I'm really really nervous. Be-
Understandable.
yeah, before the test, I even test to my friends like I'm super nervous. I can't think anymore. My head is all blank. And gladly, the test taker, there's a woman, and she just tell me to calm down. I show her my emotions that I'm very nervous, and she just calm me down and said, "You are okay, and you are be able to do these things well." So I'm very grateful for her uh, touching touching movement. Yeah,
Oh, I love
and
that. So that
yeah,
was your examiner that was asking the speaking questions could
no,
tell you
no,
were nervous, or was
no,
it the invigilator
before,
before you
uh,
went in?
yeah, in the
Okay, that
invigilator.
makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, and then
Oh.
I get into the class, I get into the exam, and start from the part one. I was getting used to the this kind of conversation because I practiced before. Like
Mm.
part one, I'm talking about my career, my environment, and do you work or do you study, like these common questions, and
Mhm.
it's gradually boosting my confidence. And I also tell them that because I'm a nurse, so I help a lot of people, and I'm thinking that I'm helping a lot of people, so maybe give me a good points on that.
Nice.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that. Okay, so I think the answer is yes. Like you were able to boost that confidence, but of course, you're still, everyone is still going to be a little bit nervous, especially if it's the first time you're taking the exam. When you get there on test day, that's perfectly normal to feel a
mhm,
little anxiety, to feel a little nerves. But once the questions started and you realized, like, I'm prepared for these
mhm,
questions, I have answers. I'm
yeah,
being asked things that I'm sort of prepared to answer,
yeah,
then that confidence really would come at you full force where you're like, I'm prepared for this, right?
yeah,
So that's where, when you put in the preparation ahead of time, all that you did to practice answering sample questions, getting into our course, that's what's going to boost that confidence once you start realizing, oh, I'm ready, I'm prepared for this.
yes, that's the case. Yeah,
I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so let us know. You mentioned that part two was a little more difficult. Do you remember what your part two question was?
Yes, I was asked about an item of a clothing.
Oh, just describe an item of clothing, or was there
Yeah.
more to it?
No, just describe the item of clothing that you bought maybe recently or
Mm,
something that you liked before. And I was very struggling of the item because I
mm,
was thinking about the clothes that I wear. Because I
mm,
was talking about earlier to the examiner that I love surfing, and I basically just keep my main idea circling around surfing area because I love surfing so much. So if you talk about history, I can talk about Hawaiian
mm,
surfing history. And if you want to talk about the something is most expensive you bought, I will talk about my longboards and basically just circling around this topic. So when I get these questions the item of clothing. I was thinking like, should I tell about the watches or can I tell about the clothing that I wear on my body or the t-shirts? So I was just the one moment, maybe 1 or 2 seconds of struggling in my head, and
mm.
it gets to my answers. Like I can complete my answers like fluently. Yeah.
Okay,
So
I
I
want to point out a couple of things that you did that are so smart and such good strategies. And I have a feeling, coming from the strategies you're learning in the course, that first of all, you realized I should not describe something like, I don't know, a t shirt or something I don't care much about, I don't have much to say about. You
Mhm.
realized right away, I need to pick something like clothes for surfing that I could say a ton about.
Yeah.
And if you haven't bought something recently for surfing, the examiner doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
You could have bought it several years ago. That's all right, right? You say
Yes.
it, you bought it last week, we're good. And you would have so much to say describing the clothing, why you bought it, and going into why you love surfing and tell a story, something that happened recently, right? These are
Yeah.
such good strategies.
Yeah.
Choose an article of clothing that you're going to have a lot to say about, right?
Yes, I was first I was really struggling about I want to tell a real story, but at the time I realized that I'm stuck in the story, so I have to make something up, like the podcast told me
Sure,
about.
yes.
Yeah, you can make up a story. So I make up a story that I bought the clothes with my friends in the mall, and then I talk about surfing, and then I talk deep into more about the surfing world and how the clothing made me more comfortable at surfing and perform well and related to my topic. Yeah.
I love
So
that. So smart, right? The examiner doesn't know, doesn't care. They're just listening for great detail, great vocabulary. So if you have to make up a few facts in order to use that great
mhm,
vocabulary, that idiomatic language, that's what you need to do, right? And I can
yeah.
tell that you did all of that because you scored a 7.5 on speaking. And that's the only way to do it is to use these strategies. Okay,
Mm,
let's move on
yeah.
to your amazing listening score.
Yeah.
7.5, that's a fantastic score on the listening exam. Can you
Mhm.
share any, strategies or advice you learned in 3 keys that you feel like helped you achieve that score?
I think the listening part about the writing part, listening part, and the reading part is most difficult for me because I
Mm,
don't know the strategies. I didn't even know how the exam will go to. How's the reading part? They have different topics, and
mm,
the listening part they have different topics like fill in the blanks and the multiple choices. And as I was looking up you at the three kids owls and I realized that there are many types of questions in the listening
mhm.
test as well as in reading part. So I just wrote down all the questions in my small book and I
Nice.
paragraphed them into speaking, writing, listening, and writing. And I was just uh, each kind of question I will write it down and you have three keys every questions and then I will practice a question type and then I will write down my wrong answers and I'll dig into why this is wrong, why my answer is wrong. Yeah, and then I'll go back and search for the answers that I need to score.
Oh, so smart. Yes, right? To master each question type before you move on to the next one or before you
Yeah.
worry because there are different strategies for each of these different question types
Mm,
and you need to practice one so that you can really it's not enough just to know the strategy. You have to practice using it so you're ready on test day, right? So
yeah.
I can definitely tell the way you did that really made a difference for your score because it would help you master as soon as you see that question type on the listening exam you know exactly what to do. Should you be making predictions? Should you
Yes.
be skimming the question, right? You knew what to do for each one. It made it very systematic, right?
Yeah. 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 And
I love
I
that book you showed where you were so
re-
organized. You were taking notes about each of the different modules and the strategies for each question type. I
Mhm.
think that's so smart. I'm also wondering about the study plan that we have in Three Keys IELTS. Do you feel like that helped to keep you motivated, to keep you organized?
I still have the stickers on my wall telling me, you are so great because number one, number two, and number three. And
Nice.
yeah, it boosts my confidence. Like this is the most important part. Like you will get lost in the exam about taking an exam test, and you will be about 6.5 or lower points of the module that you have practiced, and you'll feel down, you'll feel depressed, and then I will just look at my notes, and then I will just realize that I have done a lot of practice along the way with the schedule, and so I believe myself I can maybe do well or do better on the exam, and just giving myself more confidence, I think, is the most
Yes.
important part I learned in the course.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love the idea of using the study plan that way too, to see how much you've done, how much progress you've made. Where if you do start to lack motivation and get a little down on yourself, you can look back at how much you've done, how much you've accomplished, and realize, like, actually, I've done a ton. I've come really far and I'm prepared because confidence and motivation is half the battle when it comes to the
Hmm.
IELTS exam, right? Which
Mm,
is another reason I'm so glad to have you here. We love having students on who have achieved their scores and are moving on with their dreams because that is so motivating for everyone out
mm.
there listening who is studying for this exam and might feel like, in that sort of funk, feeling like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Get motivated, you guys, right? Listen to Nick's story. You can do it just like he does. And now you're moving on with your goals, with your dreams, right, Nick?
Yes, of course. Everyone keep pumping up. Yes, you can do it.
Yes, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Nick, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in California as a nurse. We're so excited for all you're going to accomplish. And congratulations again on getting these amazing scores on your IELTS exam.
Thank you, Aubrey. Thank you. Thank you so
Awesome. Thanks,
much.
Nick. See you
Thank
later.
you. See you
Bye
later.
bye.
Bye bye.